Well, it's a good thing that I didn't listen to Aiden and do this as a live recording because that would have been a disaster.
I don't think we're ready for the live recordings yet, Daryl. We'll work our way up.
I made a commitment to not this Sunday because we have a
Yep.
guest, but the
Okay.
following Sunday we're
Yep.
going live, baby, with a
Yep.
chat.
We'll be ready. We'll be ready then.
I don't know that that is the truth.
I think so. 2 weeks from now, we'll be ready. Today, we weren't ready because obviously we had mic issues and audio problems.
For a
So,
change.
right?
But now we're good to go.
I think so.
We are ready for another stat show.
Hey, I love it. Welcome. Welcome back.
Hello.
Who's even listening?
Who is here?
The stat show's late this month, right? Trev came out with these numbers on Monday. It was like the 8th. I feel like, we're like the middle of the month and we're talking about last month already. It feels like maybe we shouldn't even do the stat show, Daryl. I had my doubts.
It seems like maybe they just had a tough time counting all those sales.
Oh, honestly though,
Hello.
really? That hard to count the sales? Like, do they not have the sales counted up until the 31st of January and then all they have to do is click over one more day? Should they not have those numbers ready within 2 days?
Now, I'm not a realtor, but I
Yeah.
have had access to the back end of the MLS service. And
Yes.
I don't know if you have to be a rocket scientist to figure it out, but there is some science involved.
Sure. But let's just run a scenario here. Do you think any rocket scientists ever left their profession to become realtors?
That's a good question. I mean,
How about this? Do you think any of the really top notch rocket scientists ever left their field to become a realtor?
it doesn't seem quite as exciting as figuring out how to land a rocket
Yeah.
on
The,
Mars.
the answer is no. Maybe a couple guys who flunked out of rocket school. But anyways, it shows how much I know.
Well,
Let's
maybe.
talk about some stats, Daryl. Come on.
All
What's
right.
going on out there?
Let's talk about some stats. But first, if you
Yes.
haven't subscribed and you're watching this show, do us a favor, right? Like hit the like button. We get a lot of views and nobody's hitting like. We get a decent amount of comments and like no subscribers. So please do us a favor. Help spread the word and subscribe now.
Yep, absolutely. We love commenting. So we appreciate it. Thanks for listening. These are one of our shorter shows today. So we're going to get through it on the stats. Daryl, you pulling up the screen or
Here it
what are we
comes.
doing?
Boom.
Okay.
There it is. What are we looking at other than just absolute craziness here?
Crazy, crazy.
Is
So
this sustainable?
definitely not.
Not sustainable, says
You
the
look at the
expert.
sales. Yeah, I'm the expert. So, I mean, you look at the sales numbers, right? So it's like last year, 4,500 sales. You got to look at a typical January. It's sub 5,000. All of a sudden, now we're at this, close to 7,000 sales in the month of January 2021. There's been a lot of changes in the market, so we know, there's a lot of the people who potentially would have been buying in the spring market 2021 who had to buy in January. And then there's people who actually were trying to buy in the spring market 2020 who just couldn't quite get into the home that they wanted or get their financing organized because the banks weren't approving them because they were on CERB or they had time off and their business was shut down.
Are you
And now they're
saying
finally
are you saying that
getting
this
out.
is still pent up demand?
They're still part of the pent up demand. Sure. There's people who just couldn't quite get their foot in the door back in 2020 or get their financing together. That's a lot of the issues. And then we've got this whole new wave of people who are saying to themselves, "I don't like my home anymore, and I've saved up a lot of money from 2020 not going out to the theater or not going out to." Going on vacation, and they're not happy with their homes. Maybe they did some renovations. It's still not enough, and they're out there looking.
How can there still be pent up demand?
There's always pent up demand, Daryl.
Wow.
Yeah, that's just the way it is. I mean, like I said, that's not a big chunk of it, but there's definitely people who got sidelined because of COVID, and now their financing has just been able to come together, right? So let's look at the numbers.
Let's look at the numbers. What numbers would you like to look at first?
let's start it with the sales, right? So, you can just kind of look from the far bottom right corner here, 6,900 sales compared to 4,500, an increase of 52%, which now when people, CP24 and everybody's going to be like pumping up the, 52% more sales. Sure. Last January, it was a competitive market. There was low inventory at that time as well. A lot of buyers out there, but clearly a lot more buyers out this month. So significant increase, nothing to sneeze at. That is definitely a major increase in the demand for housing, January 2021. Now let's look at new listings here because I'm hearing the same thing over and over again. Everyone's saying the same thing right now on the real estate streets. There's no inventory. There's no inventory. What are we going to do without the inventory? We're not going to have any, affordable housing. We had 1,600 more listings
Well, hold on a sec,
listed.
because that broken down. This is not. I mean, I'm sure as we get into the document, it's broken down. But
Detach was almost identical. Detach was almost identical from January 2020.
so
So
do we have
4,000 and
a?
change.
So is all the difference in condos?
So of course there's going to be a lot more listings in the condo sector, right? Because it's a softer condo market, right? But still a consistent amount of listings
Hang on a sec.
compared. Yep.
85.5% more than last year is a softer condo market.
Condo market sales 85% more. Yep.
Sounds
Um,
pretty soft.
I hear what you're saying. It's a great market compared to uh, April through December 2020. It's improved drastically. But look at the sales numbers. We're down 8%. I'm seeing still drastic changes.
The
When we
price,
were
you
at
mean?
when we were looking at year over year December 2020 to December 2019, we were only at like 1% lower. Like it didn't seem like it was that significant. January was a boom month for condos. So January 2020 was a boom month. The prices jumped up, multiple offers. It was like 15 offers on condos at a time. Like it was really crazy. And that was because the inventory was low. Okay. So there wasn't enough inventory to go around to even make a lot of sales. So therefore, an increase in sales of 85.5%, which is incredible, right? Has more to say about the lack of sales January 2020 compared to the demand in 2021, which is nothing again to take lightly. So there's definitely an increase in interest in the condo market.
So
But back to the new listings here, Darryl. 1,600 more listings in 2021 and a very equivalent freehold amount of listings. So is the problem the supply side or is the problem the demand side?
or is it both?
Oh,
Ah,
definitely a lot of people want to move, man. That's what it is. It's not just I thought it would be more COVID related. People aren't putting their houses on the market. It's just an insatiable demand. There's just tons of people out there looking to buy real estate, and that's what's causing pressure on prices. And it is swallowing up all the available inventory, no matter what part of the market you're in right now,
and
east, west, north, south, except for, which we'll talk about Sunday, some of the pricier condos.
so explain to me one more time,
Okay,
because it's apparent I'm not too bright and I don't have very good retention.
no problem. Join the club.
New listings versus active listings. What the
Active
hell's
listings.
going on here?
New listings are the new listings that came out. Active listings are the ones that were currently available at the end of the month. So even though there was 9,400 uh, new listings in January 2021,
Ah.
there was also a lot of listings that were being carried over from the month before.
So total available listings is 16,800.
No,
No.
no.
So
Total
active,
available listings is
yes.
7,396 at the end of the month.
So we added 9,400 and we only have 7,400 available.
Yes, because clearly the net sold listings would be somewhere around 2,000, right? But you got to remember some of the listings that account for the 6,900 sales were also listed prior to the new year.
Holy mackerel. That seems
Yeah,
like a lot of sales to me.
it's a lot of sales. Well, 6,928 sales. That's a lot of sales. Absolutely.
So are we saying that last year was a typical year and this year is atypical?
Honestly, neither one of them are typical.
Neither one is typical. So
Neither one of them on a 25-year trend is what to expect in a January, to be
what?
honest
So
with you.
what would we normally expect for a January?
Uh, well, sales numbers were closer to what 2020 was, between 4 and 5 thousand, right? But you wouldn't have the same pressure on prices. You'd have a lot more of a balanced market in January market typically. But last year we had limited inventory as well, and obviously the increased amount of pressure. People just started coming out of the holidays in 2020, ready to buy. Like that's kind of when the market exploded again. We started talking about, oh, this could be the next 2017, and then COVID took care of that, and it was nowhere close. Now we're doing the same thing again, and it's definitely looking like a very, very competitive market with a lot of growth in it.
So imagine the roller coaster ride somebody that bought last January must have gone on in the last 12 months.
In a condo. That's the greatest, ride that you could have gone on. Would have been, you bought the condo at 700, you watched it go all the way down to like 550, and now you're steadily seeing it come back up again, maybe 600, six and change, whatever, and you're going, oh, geez, should have never bought in January. But that's what, never buy because you think the market's going to go up or down. Never sell because you think the market's going to go up or down. It's the worst decision you can make. Buy and sell based on your need. Look at your situation and decide if you're going to move because you have a need to move. Accept the market for what it is. Make the best out of your situation, and end up, looking at the long-term plan as far as how long you're going to be there or what you're going to use that money for after you sell. Great.
It's amazing. It's crazy. Like
Yeah.
we're seeing articles talking a lot about the average price in Toronto is going to break the $1 million threshold this year.
Absolutely.
968 average price in Toronto.
I know. I know.
Holy
15%
cow.
increase. We had 30% increases at the peak of 2017. So let's see what February will bring. Now, if nothing stops us, remember we dropped big time in April 2020. So now the April numbers, when they come out in the first week of May, or maybe if Fed's still doing what
80%
they're doing,
up.
it could be the second week of May. Yeah, it's going to be pretty drastic, right? Like when you look at it,
Wow.
we dipped, I think, below 900 that month.
And where were we at last month for average price? Do we have that
I've got it
information?
on my screen, but you've got, hold on, let me go and escape here. So December 2020, the average sale price was 932.
So what is that increase? Because that is what I think is relevant. Not that anybody
5%
listens to
almost.
me. So 932 divided by
No, that's not how you do it.
968, 4%, no?
Yeah.
That
So,
seems sustainable. 4% per month increase in average pricing.
yeah.
Woohoo! Here we go, baby.
Yeah, so we look at all those things. We
Ah!
look at January's numbers.
This is
We look
fantastic.
at what the sales numbers are. I think you're right. I love to look at the month to month and figure out exactly what it is. So December sales numbers, 7,000, right? So that's a pretty significant amount of sales. January 2021, just under 7,000, right? So there's a huge lineup of buyers out there. There's a lot of people looking to move, and it doesn't seem like that's going to stop in the next little while. I think the only thing that's going to change is we're going to start seeing a lot more listings that come on the market.
Because people feel more comfortable having people come in their house?
That's one. Yep.
And because they see these ridiculous prices that people can
Ridiculous
get?
prices. I met with someone this week who had no idea that it was a good time to sell. Like we're in the market, like we're doing stuff, we're out there, we're meeting people. You're looking on the development side. People who are actively buying and selling, they're going to focus a little bit more on what the market's doing, but there's still a ton of people where buying and selling is not on their mind. They're not even thinking about it. The real estate is not even really a topic that they're that comfortable talking about, other than what they heard their neighbor sell for, or the
Sure.
time that their friend bought the house and then it didn't work out for them. Like that's all it is. They're not getting into the specifics about prices up, prices down, number of showings.
So, but
So there's still a lot of people who got the blinders on.
and you can't really tell by driving down the street because there aren't that many for sale signs I mean, most of them are sold signs if they're even up, but there really isn't that much inventory.
Yeah, like I said, there's inventory. It's just there's a whole whack load of buyers to buy it, and that's why
But it's not
there's
like
interest.
2017 when like you would drive down a street and there's 3 or 4 signs on every single street. At least it
Yeah,
felt like that, didn't it?
yeah,
Now it's just like available or coming soon and then sold, gone, sign down,
yeah. No, it's a
all
tough
over the place.
tough market. I'm just gonna pull up March 2017 now that you said that. So March 2017 sales numbers. So yeah, you're definitely right. 12,000 sales.
That's double.
12,000 sales in
That's
2017.
double. Wow, so what's it going to be like this year? Because, I mean, unless something really weird comes out of nowhere that no one could foresee, like a global pandemic or something crazy like that, or a lockdown,
Mm-hmm. Coronavirus variant.
who, who knows? I mean, what the hell's slowing this thing down?
You know what? It's anybody's guess at this point in time, but we're
Wow.
going to look at the numbers closely, and I think that that's one of the biggest things. One of the, like I said, this is real estate sales is not rocket science. I don't profess to be anything, and I've definitely never met any people who I think would qualify as rocket scientists working in my field. But for sure, one of the biggest tools that you should have as a realtor is to be following the market and making sure that you understand how things are playing out, because the condo market is moving so quickly right now. And I said this, I think maybe a month ago, that people will start underselling their condos. And I'm seeing that a lot. I'm seeing a ton of examples of people who are listing their condo at the prices that were being sold for a week or 2 weeks or a month earlier. And then they end up taking an offer within a day, and then it's like, okay, did they get the most amount of money? I mean, how many people could have been through within a day,
Minus
right?
8%. I mean, it's obvious people are with 85% growth in 1 month
Yeah,
and 8% lower average sale price. It seems as though people are leaving some dough on the table.
true. Oh, that's a good. Actually, that's a good point. And I think that that's definitely a metric to use in that case. But there also are a lot of there's a lot less. So in January 2020, there was a ton of high end condos being sold, and now there's not, which we're going to talk about on Sunday, right? Like in the Yorkville areas and stuff. So there's all these multi-million-dollar condos, 2 million, whatever, 1.5 plus,
Yeah,
that were
and
being
those are
sold.
affordable now, apparently. Yorkville
Those
is
are,
affordable now. Of course, there's nowhere to shop because all the stores are bankrupt. So
yeah,
Yorkville
yeah,
doesn't have the same appeal it did a few months ago.
no,
But this is like really, really insane. When I saw these numbers, I was like, somebody must
look
have
at
done
detached
something
though.
wrong. Semi detached, 84%. Semi detached. I mean, how many sales
What are you
could there
looking
have
at?
been?
That semi-detached 84. Oh, sales, yeah,
416
in
semi
the
detached
416
year over year.
semi-detached,
I mean,
yeah.
how many semis could have possibly sold? I mean, that's probably like there was 14 semis sold.
Well, year to date,
No, just
um,
January in the
so in
416.
yeah, in the 416. So when I look at like detached house prices going up 30%, right? Like when we were talking a lot about that in the beginning, I do feel like there is a lot more higher end homes selling for sure, but I'm seeing many examples of house prices going up 30%. Like many house prices that are going up to the point where it's like, okay, that's a lot. Total number of sales in Treb, which is not just the 416, is only 506 semis.
Hmm.
Um, Semi-detached Toronto, total city of Toronto 162. So you're right, it's not a big number, right? But either way, like what I'm seeing, like
Mm,
there's houses that I've seen, detached houses, where I have seen the prices have risen 30%. You know, they're in the lower markets, they're not
for
in the higher end
sure.
stuff. The
Last
higher end
year,
stuff, you could be 20%,
nobody
but there's,
wanted a semi last year. Everybody wanted condos. Like it was, everybody's
yeah,
buying condos and I guess detached houses, but even those were dying. Wow,
yeah,
and this doesn't include all the new home sales. This is only resales. So I know for a fact, like all the launches of houses and condos all over the GTA is going bananas right now.
yeah, yeah. I'm looking at assignments on some of those freehold, the
And
like the low rise reconstruction stuff, and There's people who are making some money right now. They're selling stuff that they bought from the builder a year or two ago for good prices, making good returns and getting out before it's done,
before closing.
before closing. Yeah. So yeah, a lot of positivity right now. Like house prices. Like look at the detached house price. 1.359 million to own
Well,
a
it's
detached home.
positive if you're selling.
But I'm talking about it in just a general sense here. Like that's a lot of money,
Well, it's
right?
positive if you're selling. It's annoying as hell if you're buying,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And if we're looking at at an overall health of a market, like this thing has a fever.
So I'll give you an example here. In January 2020, the difference between the average detached house in 416 and the average detached house in the 905 was over $400,000.
The difference
Okay.
between a detached in
A detached
416
home.
and a
So right now the
detached in the
difference is
905,
200 and
400,000.
$273,000.
So
Okay.
the
Between,
gap closed by 20%
yeah,
more.
more. Yeah. Right.
Holy jumping.
So now it went from the 200 or sorry over 400,000 to under 300,000.
What about
So the
condos in the 416 versus 905? How's that price gap? That's crazy though. That
right
is
now.
proof positive of a serious exodus. The
So right now you got about a fifty thousand
exodus.
dollar difference in 2021. In January 2020, it was $160,000 difference. So that's halved. Okay.
Whoa.
Yeah. So a lot of things like that, right? Like there's a lot of balance, like your exodus, urban sprawl, any of those terms that you want to look at. There's people who are spreading out the wealth, and the 905 areas are getting the benefit. That is without a doubt. That is without a doubt. We're seeing price increases in the city, Scarborough, Etobicoke, North York too, but we're definitely seeing the 905 areas getting the bulk of the appreciation, which is great for them. I mean, it's bad for others. I mean, it's hard to have an opinion in it. At the end of the day, you got to just make sure that the fundamentals make sense, and what we're seeing, and Benjamin Tal at CIBC, and what a lot of other pretty influential people have been able to figure out, a lot smarter than me, is that this is all real demand from end user buyers. There's a lot of activity. The smaller markets that are getting hit by the investors and speculators are all outside of the GTA. Those small markets in the small towns, the secondary markets, they're getting hit up from Toronto money coming out of equity, like line of credits and stuff like that. And those markets are being inflated right now very, very fast. But the GTA, it is really just people who want to move. They just want to be. They just want to be in something more comfortable that they can enjoy. You know.
I can't even imagine what happens to all of this when they start importing humans again. When they
Sure.
open up the borders and start letting immigration flow to the
Yeah.
tune of 400,000 people per year.
Yeah, those targets aren't going to be hit, unfortunately. That's
No,
just
but the
my opinion
pace,
at
it's
this
the
point.
pace, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Even if we
Like
don't hit 400, they're going to be on a pace to aim for it, right?
they're going
Whenever
to
that
keep going.
happens. And it's
Yeah.
just going to be like, uh, uh, okay, you're in. Okay, you're in. Come on in. Welcome to
They're going to get a
Canada.
robot stamp, just
That's it.
right. So, what can you
Another
do?
use for robots.
What can you do? One thing that we're dealing with right now is, a lot of people are leaving the freehold market, so they're frustrated. They're just not able to get a property, so they're going into the condo market. So that's good. So it's taking a little bit of the bottom end demand. Let's call it under $800,000 properties. So that's nice to hear. So instead of maybe 30 or 50 offers in the spring, there could be less. So that'll help buyers. A lot of people are getting more comfortable. The numbers could be going down. The province could be opening back up. All that other talk that we do talk about the vaccine and stuff like that. Those are all heading in the right direction. So that could lead to more inventory. So I'm expecting that we're still going to continue to see growth. Like the market's going to continue to grow. It's just there's a lot of anomalies happening right now where they got that one house that just had the right marketing, the right strategy, the right amount of buyers, the right buyer at the right time who's been sick of all the multiple offers. He's paying, like here's our, it's not very good on the screen here, but here's our upward trend, right? And you're going to have these little spikes of people who are paying house prices because of market conditions, because they really, really don't have any. So that's why when I'm saying to people it's such a great time to sell right now is because you could be one of those people who ends up getting way more than like $100,000 more than your neighbor gets. And the rest of the neighborhood could continue on the trend where you're getting the advantage of that spike and having that little bit of extra money in your pocket at the end of the day because of the condition of the market, right? And then everybody else puts their house on the market that the week after or 2 weeks after you get it, so more competition comes, which means that it's going to be less likely that buyers are going to be willing to go up to those higher price points again. So
But what is the difference between having, okay, so let's just say for argument's sake right now, what you've said 50 offers, I've read 70 offers. Like how many really is the average amount of offers on a decent house these days?
I'm gonna say 10.
10. So
Yep,
so let's say, some of the neighbors all of a sudden start to sell and there's more inventory. What does 10 turn into? Because how it doesn't take that many offers on the same house to drive that price up, right?
I agree. I
So
agree. I'm not saying that it's not going to be a new benchmark. That could happen. There could be new, price trends on the street and everything else too. But I'm seeing examples of houses that are selling for a lot more. And there's no way that there's always going to be a buyer willing to pay that price each and every time, right? So there may have just been that one buyer who was fed up with these multiple offers and finally just said, I'm going to go and buy the next house that I can see. The next house that allows me to make an offer, and he or she pays the most amount of money,
so what you're
right? And there's a
saying, which
finite supply of those buyers.
it doesn't sound reasonable for me, but maybe I'm misunderstanding you. So what you're saying is neighbor A sells his house for $100,000, just to keep the
Yes.
math easy.
Okay.
Neighbor B sells it the next week for $120,000.
Perfect.
Neighbor C, D, and E are never selling their house for less than 120.
Okay, great.
But is that what you're saying? That the
Well, what I'm
120 could
saying
be an
is, yeah,
anomaly?
what I'm saying is that if neighbors G, H, I, J, K, L all decide to list too, and everyone wants 120, there may only be so many buyers who are willing to pay that price, right?
Ah.
So you have to just take that into consideration is that, I'm not saying prices will go down and that you're going to all be forced to accept 90. But, if there was 100 sales between 80 and 100, and there's one at 120, you may just end up going back into that trend of 80 to 100, maybe pushing up a little bit more. Then you have all these other things too, like closing date and terms, and if they do a home inspection. Like there's all these other parts of the transaction that having a pressure from a lineup of buyers is going to allow a seller to be able to get the best terms.
I am going
So,
to predict right now
okay, let's hear it.
that it's
We
going
should
to
have a
get.
crystal ball feature. We don't have it. Don't look for it.
I don't have one.
All right.
It's prediction time.
Okay.
And then I think we can end the show.
Perfect.
I'm going to predict that it gets way friggin' crazier well before any type of reduction. Like I don't think it's going down at all anytime soon. This year is going to be crazy. Every stat show we're just going to be going, this is crazy. This is unsustainable. Next month we're going to say the same thing. TK, is it sustainable? Nope, it's not. Well, but we're sustaining it. I don't know where all this money's coming from.
Yeah. I'm super bullish. I think the market's, strong. I think prices are cheap in Toronto and the market's going to carry on forward in the long term.
There
All I'm
is
saying
no
is that
way to satiate this appetite
there
for
there's
real
a lot
estate.
there's a lot of volatility in the market for sure, and that's I'm too conservative to tell people that this is just a runaway train and it's just going to be going up and up and up and you never have anything to worry about.
Well, that's
That
why I'm
doesn't
here
sit
to
well
tell
with me.
people the truth. This is a
Okay.
runaway train. Don't get in front of it. Get behind it. Sell your house, your condo now, and figure out your next move because it's not getting cheaper anytime soon. This is going to be nuts. This is going to be nuts. And get ready to live in something further and smaller.
You
Or
could be
stay
right.
where you are. Stay where you are, refinance, and quit
A
your
lot of
job.
people, a lot of people need to stay where they are.
You
There's a lot
have
of people who
to.
can make it work, who are making irrational decisions right now based on temporary living situations. Things will go back to at least a little bit more, kids in school, work from the workplace, activities opening back up again. Some of those things will return. We don't know when, but definitely some of them are going to, and we're not all going to be trapped in our houses forever. So if you're making that decision based off of how you feel, like I got my kids screaming in the background here now, and they're fighting, and we're in the house, and it's hard that we're all trying to keep sane here, and we're doing a pretty good job at it, but it's not permanent.
That
So for
is
me,
what's unsustainable.
so it's not permanent, and I'm not going to move because I think that I need to be in a house twice as big when the house that I'm living in right now has been perfectly good for the last 7 years, and I'm not going to make that decision. So
I think the only move for people now is to right size. So you sell for 1.4, you find something else for 1.4, you take money off the table and enjoy Hamilton.
we'll see. But thanks for doing the stat show with me again, Daryl. I love it. This is great, short and sweet.
Short
And
and
we'll see
sweet,
you again
baby.
on Sunday.
Sunday, when we
What do we have
have
on
our
Sunday?
special guest, his name is Jordan Skrinko from
Hey.
precondo.ca.
Ooh,
I
I like it.
hope I said that right. If I didn't, I will edit it out in post.
Awesome. But that's great. That's an awesome guest to be talking to.
Yeah,
Perfect.
it's going to be exciting and special. So, thanks
Great.
everybody once again for being here for the Stats
This that show.
Show.
January 2021 edition.
Please subscribe and check us out on Instagram at Toronto Real Estate Show without a W. Yeah.
For show. Okay, cool.
See ya.